This will be good. Lots of bragging rights on the line. And the good thing is that Matthew Berry can't win the league. That's all that really matters.
Yeah. I was going to say, I honestly have not cared.
Yeah.
Once he started 0-7.
Oh, yeah.
I was going
he got to 6 or 7. It was like,
he did.
Hold on now.
Yeah.
And then one last dagger, I beat him in the consolation bracket.
Oh, that's
and I started Roma Dunze, who didn't play, by the way.
Yeah.
So
it's been a very good running bit of Matthew outproducing himself with how much he can lie about what is happening.
Yeah. I finished 5th in points.
It started in week 1,
10th.
where he blamed George Kittle's injury against the Seahawks for costing him his matchup, not acknowledging that George Kittle wasn't on his team.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. I'm Jay Croucher, Lawrence Jackson, Matthew Berry. George Kittle not with us today, not on his team
I have a lot of George Kittle this year. I just did not have him on that particular team. I just, what I like to know, I want to say this to the regulars. I missed you guys yesterday. You can hear my voice. It's a little bit better. It's still not great. I'll probably cough throughout the show a little bit.
Okay.
Though but I've tested negative for everything. I mean, I went to the doctor and just
Appreciate
whatever.
that.
It's just, I just think
It's a new disease that you've created.
No, it's just I think I've talked too much. Honestly, it's just I think just a little my throat is strained. But
I've never
what I
gotten
will
that.
say, no, exactly. SEC Man 01. See what happens when you are out for one show, Matthew. Turncoats. I will say this. In fairness to these guys, those are all things they would have said to my face.
Yes.
So I actually don't think you guys are turncoats.
Yes.
I actually don't think you're turncoats.
It's not a James Comwell in LA Confidential situation.
No, it is not that. But I'll tell you what it is. It just goes to show, like, even on a show when I'm not here, they have to talk about me. Without me, they are nothing. Without me, they're hopeless. They're useless. They're floating in a sea of nothingness. It's just like, Barry's not here. What can we do? Oh, well, let's at least talk about Barry.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, damn right.
We good.
It's fine.
All right, well, let's step out of the sea
I have
of
to carry
nothingness.
the show even when I'm not here. That's fine.
Let's dry ourselves off the water from the sea of nothingness, step onto dry land, where we're going to talk about love-hate.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk about our best bets for Seahawks-Rams, which is, I think, the game of the season tonight. But let's get straight into it. Love-hate with the running backs, Matthew. And we're going to start off with Saquon Barkley, who we see here, practice on Wednesday after missing Tuesday with a stinger. He should be good to go. On Saturday, he plays your Washington Commanders. He would have been a no-brainer. We wouldn't have been able to put him on the love list last year because it was so obvious. But this year, not as obvious, but very favorable matchup against Washington.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable matchup against Washington. Running backs that have seen at least 15 touches against the Commanders this year are averaging 19.4 fantasy points per game. My Commanders have given up at least 20 fantasy points to a running back in 4 of the past 5. And so Saquon, who, has played better recently. The offense has played better in games in which they win. Barkley's getting over 22 touches a game. They're 6.5-point favorites. I think they do win here as well. So Barkley's my running back 6 this week. It's been a tough year for Barkley. He has not returned value on ADP. But if you've managed to make the playoffs with Saquon Barkley as your first-round pick, you're going to be rewarded this week. Again, my running back 6, I think he runs all over my Commanders.
The first time this season, he's had 2 games in a row with 75 yards and a touchdown. That's interesting. Obviously, he's had definitely a solid matchup last week in the Raiders to get that done, and just carrying that over to Washington. Like you said, if you made it this far, which some people have, you should actually feel good about it now.
Yeah, still doesn't quite look like Saquon Barkley from last year, but trending in the right direction and having some more Saquon type of runs, like housing the 50-yarder against the Chargers a couple weeks ago. My first name for the love list, Jonathan Taylor, who would have been an unspoken love, would have been self-evident a few weeks ago. Obviously, things have changed for the Colts. It's hard to say it was encouraging, but I thought there were encouraging aspects of his performance against the Seahawks. One, the fact that just an insane workload with Phil Rivers under center, or really more in shotgun, and the fact that the Colts, they ran the ball on first down, I believe, 19 times versus 4 pass attempts. They know that they can't let Phil Rivers get into second and third and long. So Jonathan Taylor is going to get a huge amount of work. This is season on the line for the Colts. If they lose this, their season is effectively over. And San Francisco's run defense is not particularly imposing. They're just out of bodies on that defense. I think they've been doing it with smoke and mirrors. Credit to Robert Saleh, but Jonathan Taylor is going to get all he can eat on Monday night.
Could not agree more. Look, right. talented. If you're Shane Steichen, how do I move the ball, right? You know, you've got a better chance. Philip Rivers is going to have to throw enough just to keep him honest, but it's going to be Jonathan Taylor for another 20 touches.
And they're hoping for that he breaks the big one that he couldn't versus Seattle. Seattle's better defense this season, so they knew better, hey, we're going to stack the box. And the San Francisco 49ers may as well do that too. However, they don't have the same players at this time that the Seattle Seahawks have.
Yeah. I'll also say this. This is a dumb one, but and not that you were ever deciding not to play Jonathan Taylor, but I always like having players on Monday night. Like, just if everything's gone wrong, hey, can I get him Monday Night Miracle?
Yeah.
I always just, especially this week, a semifinal week, like I like having players that can this guy bring the hammer home for me?
Yeah, and also it's not like Jonathan Taylor was like 2 yards per carry against the Seahawks facing a loaded box and elite defense.
He had good runs.
Yeah, he was, what was he, like 23 for 87?
He did damn good for the opposing defense to know what they was trying to do. But to what you said, Matthew, going into a Monday night, if you down 21 points with a guy like Jonathan Taylor, like, you feel good unless you get to the fourth quarter and he got 7, but then you still got a chance.
Right.
Yep.
So fall in the end zone twice, right?
Yeah. He's minus 300 anytime touchdown scorer.
Yeah, we
which
like
is
that.
Pretty remarkable. Phil Rivers at quarterback. All right, Bucky Irving, Matthew, huge matchup for him against Carolina in a game that may decide the vaunted NFC South. The Panthers' run defense has been struggling lately.
Yeah, and I expect them to lean on Bucky Irving here, right? Every game he's played this season, he's had at least 17 touches. And then the reason I bring up the touches, again, running backs that get volume against Carolina. 7 of the 9 running backs have seen at least 15 touches against the Panthers. They've scored at least 16 fantasy points since week 8. Carolina is bottom 5 in the NFL in both rush yards per game and yards per carry allowed to opposing running backs. So Bucky Irving, who should get the majority of the work in a matchup on the road at Carolina, is my 10th best running back this week, as you see it right there on your screen. The Panthers, just Giants, Bengals, Cardinals, my Commanders, just among the teams that allow a ton of rushing yards to opposing running backs. Bucky Irving, RB1 this week, running back 10 for me.
Yeah, the look-ahead line for this one was Bucks minus 1.5 in Carolina, and then the market and the world saw what Carolina served up in New Orleans against the Saints. Decided this line needs to be minus 3 instead. I suspect that the Bucks are going to have game script as we see. What is this? Berry Pie, you the 88, Youth the 88. Not sure there. Barkley, Irving, and Achane. Who are you sitting? Wow, that's a good problem to have. We can't sit anyone else on the flex.
That's a really tough one. I think you're sitting Bucky Irving.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sitting
Barkley.
Achane.
I have Barkley at 6. Obviously, Achane high. Bucky Irving's my lowest ranked guy there. I am at running back 10. Nice options to have. Barry Pie, you the 88.
Yeah, find somebody else to sit but I guess he can't. That's
maybe
why he's asking us.
Maybe doesn't have a flex.
Yeah.
It's very confusing username handle there because your name's Barry Pie. Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
A lot going on there.
Indeed. All right, let's jump to the Houston backfield where there's also a lot going on, Lawrence. Woody Marks, who's been a little banged up. Jawhar Jordan, who's a football player. They play the Raiders. They're more than 2 touchdown favorites, so it's about as favorable as a game script situation as you can imagine.
Yeah, you talk about that game script. The over-under for this game is 37.5, right? We know that ain't because of the Texans. That's because of the Raiders and whoever they have starting at quarterback, right? But Woody Marks is the play here. If he's healthy and ready to go, he suffered the injury. Jawhar Jordan came in, 15 carries, 101 yards versus the Cardinals defense. Now you get this Raiders defense they're going against, allowed the 8th most points in fantasy per game to running backs. They have allowed at least 92 scrimmage yards and a rushing touchdown to running backs in 3 straight games. So if you got Woody Marks, you feel great about this. They get ahead. We know that C.J. Stroud can have a good game and not even throw touchdowns. So definitely like whoever's starting that running back for this Texans backfield.
Okay, Theory and Josh Bangers. Hampton or Woody?
I would say I think it's Woody Marks. I agree with Lawrence here. Like, again, assuming Woody Marks plays, I think it's Woody Marks. I mean, just Amari and Hampton is my ride or die, but the Cowboys quietly, since Quentin Williams has come, they've played good run defense. They're actually the 5th best run defense in the NFL over the last 4 weeks, I should say. So, yeah, Woody Marks over Amari and Hampton. Unfortunately, you're hoping with Hampton he gets into the end zone. If Marks is out, I would then go with Hampton. I get the Jawhar. No, Well, no,
I do the same
versus,
thing.
versus Jawhar Jordan, who, it's a semifinal games. That feels a little bit cute.
Okay, one of our favorite regulars, Neck Brace Nation. That
Neck
terrifying visual of Lawrence Jackson. With,
That's not me. It's Peyton Manning.
All right, it's
Sure,
Peyton
sure.
Manning. Sorry, it's Peyton Manning. Mixed with Nicki
think it's
Minaj.
Woody.
Okay, Woody, Jeanty, or Aaron Jones for the championship. Yeah, it's Woody
Again, I think
Marks.
it's Woody Marks.
Yeah, Woody
I want no
Marks.
part of Jeanty against Houston. Jeanty's been terrible. We're going to talk about him in a second. No, thank you.
Yeah, I actually called this in the preseason that people would be starting Woody Marks over Ashton Jeanty. That
That's
he was
a good call by you.
the rookie running back that you want. All right, let's jump to some others receiving votes. Headlined, Matthew, by Tyrone Tracy, who got plenty of work and is seemingly taking over this backfield with Cam Scatterbo obviously out, but also with Devin Singletary not getting the lion's share of the work.
Yeah, Tyrone Tracy has scored as a top 13 fantasy running back in each of his past 3 healthy games. Vikings have allowed a running back to score in 7 of their past 8. How about Kenneth Gainwell, right? Who has a 16% target share on the season. That's 5th among all running backs. Since week 11, he is the 8th best running back in fantasy football. As crazy as that might sound, he is. That's a high over-under in that game in Detroit. I think it's 52.5. And then finally, how about Michael Carter? Since week 7, your Falcons, Lawrence, allow the 5th most receptions per game to running backs. And in the 4 games that Michael Carter's gotten 10 or more touches, he's averaging almost 13 fantasy points per game. He's got a 14% target share. Now, we saw Amari DiMercado come back last week and roll, but it's going to be Carter and DiMercado. I got a text from a buddy today who said to me, I'm starting Michael Carter over Ashton Jeanty. Am I crazy? And I said, you are not crazy.
Well, in a similar vein, Christian David, 1473. Hey, folks, DJ Moore or Michael Carter to fill my flex spot this week? No.
I think
Probably no Roma Dunze.
Right.
Luther Burden has a bit of a question mark as well. But DJ Moore doesn't really do much.
No, I know. Oh, boy, that's a tough one.
You need that touchdown for DJ Moore.
I think I'd go with Michael Carter.
Would
I
you
just feel
need
better about the chip. I feel better about the, I know that he had a huge game.
Both of them could get 5 receptions.
Right. The game's in Chicago against Green Bay, that's a tough matchup. But
yeah, no
it's a
Michael
close
Parsons, who's actually been helpful for their run defense. Yeah, the Bears were able to run the ball in the second half of that Green Bay game last time as well. You suspect that they will lean on the run if they can.
So I'm saying Carter. I'm saying Carter. I don't feel good about that answer, but I'm going to say Carter.
Likewise. All right, Kevin Cardenas, 637. RJ Harvey or Michael Carter?
This one's easier. That's RJ Harvey. I get that Jacksonville's played pretty good defense, but Harvey just gets so much work, and we feel better about the Jaguars' offense than, Arizona's offense has been pretty good. But, yeah, I'm going to say RJ Harvey
They'll get you them points. They're going to be losing by 20, but they'll get you 20.
Okay. Well, the team that just beat the Cardinals is part of our hate section here because they are the opponent for Ashton Jeanty. Matthew, you could not create more of a petri dish of suffering in a lab for Ashton Jeanty managers than this matchup going up against the Texans.
Yeah.
Plus 14.5, elite run defense, elite defense overall. And Ashton Jeanty just hasn't done anything in a long time.
Since week 11, he's had one game with more than 35 rushing yards. Think about that. He's had one game with more than 35 rushing yards since week 11. As you see it there on your screen, it was week 12 against the Browns. He managed to get 50 and did get into the end zone. Had a big game there. A lot of passing game usage, but still, Houston allows the 5th fewest yards per carry to opposing running backs. And the implied team total for the Raiders is 12 points.
How about to say, it's like 3?
No, it's 12 points. That's the lowest of any team in week 16. Here's the positive, though, if there's a positive. If you're in the playoffs, you probably don't have Ashton Jeanty. So, everyone that drafted.
No, I got him in one, but I've been benching him for 6 weeks now.
Of course. No, my friend's in the playoffs. He's in the semis, but he's literally saying, am I crazy for benching Ashton Jeanty for Michael Carter? I'm like, you're not crazy. And what I will say here is just that, if you made the playoffs with Jeanty, you made it despite him, not because of him.
Yeah, right.
You probably took JSN or something and you have a juggernaut.
He's my running back 25. So, I'm as a shaky flex.
It's not like my League of Assholes team getting carried by Bryce Young and Shador. It's nothing like that.
Man finished first in the regular season. He's starting Gardner Minshew. Bryce Young in the playoffs. It's unbelievable. The rest of the team is absolutely loaded, though. It's like Taylor.
I don't like to talk about that part because
Yeah.
that makes it sound like,
All right. Coach Willis Beard picked 3 full PPR. Jeanty, Kyron, Judkins, Rico, and Gainwell. I'm in the semis. I think you're still starting Kyron Williams.
Absolutely.
I think you're starting Kenneth Gainwell.
I like
so
Gainwell. He's a big play every game.
Then
I think it's Judkins.
Yeah,
it's
I
either
think it's
Judkins or Rico. I mean, but Rico's got the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I think
it's
it's
a really
Judkins.
good. So I think it's Judkins against Buffalo. You can run on the Bills. So I think it's Kyron, Judkins, and Gainwell.
Yep.
Especially
Agreed there.
sitting here full PPR.
Okay. Another question from the great Jonathan Medici. Is Jeanty actually a bust, or are the Raiders just the worst team in the league? I think it's more about the Raiders.
Why's it got to be one or the other?
Yeah.
Why can't it be both?
I don't think it's his fault that he's got the worst run blocking
I think Ashton
scheme.
Jeanty's actually a very good player, and I think he will, in a better environment, would survive, would do very well.
I don't think the generational talent disappeared overnight. I think it says more about the Raiders situation being a complete farce. All right, another farce of a situation, Lawrence. The New York Jets and Breece Hall, who's on the hate list, facing the resurgent New Orleans Saints as they continue their march to 7-10.
It's funny, you just talked about Ashton Jeanty and the Raiders. The same could be said for Breece Hall and these Jets, like really good player, good running back, but he just happened to play for the Jets, and for me, that's really what this is all about. For Breece Hall, 2 straight weeks where he's finished outside of running back 45 in fantasy. Hasn't had a top 15 week since week 12, and you said it, resurgent New Orleans Saints. This might be the best 4-10 team in NFL history right here. In their last 2 games, they haven't allowed a running back to go over 55 rushing yards. And we're talking about Bucky Irving. We're talking about Rico. Those are pretty good running backs. So you look at the Jets' offense, you look at the Jets' team in totality, it just doesn't look good. Actually, Matthew, you made a call on Sunday. You was like, I do not feel good about this, and then it wasn't good. So I don't know if it's going to be good this week either.
No.
So he's on the
Breece
hate
Hall
list.
is dangerously close to being removed from the wall.
Yes, he's going to, walled. We're going to wall him.
And it's a damn
Anti-wall.
shame
Yeah,
because he good. But, hey, you play for the Jets.
Yeah.
All right. Question from Freeman. Jalen Warren, Audric Estime,
Whoa.
Breece Hall, pick 2 half.
So, I mean, listen, I get the question. No, hang on, though. I mean, that's how I'm still benching Estime, but I get the question. People wondering, right? Audric Estime is going to be the starting running back of the New Orleans Saints. Him and Evan Hall are going to split carries against the Jets. Like it's not as crazy a question as you might think.
He think a touchdown.
Devin Neal has already been ruled out for the Saints, as has Alvin Kamara. So it's just like you're like guy that's going to probably get 12 to 15 touches against the worst defense in the NFL. It's not a crazy question. I'm still half-point PPR is also interesting, but I'm still going. This is close. Is all my point. It's like.
Yeah, it's because you got to think touchdown. If you've seen what the Jets just had done unto them by the Jaguars, just like, I get it, but yeah.
I'm still going. I'm still benching Estime. That does feel a little too cute.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Also, how this goes, because everyone just spent all their fab on Audric Estime, and so he's about to get Evan Hull. Evan Hull's going 14 for 95 and a touchdown.
Evan Hull had a clear pathway at one point to being Jonathan Taylor's long-term backup.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt, and so now he's here. So, hey, you never know.
Now it's Amir Abdullah, the immortal.
It is Amir Abdullah.
All right, hey, listen to me. Rico Dowdle against the Buccaneers. Pass funnel defense, the Bucs, we saw that their pass defense just has absolutely nothing at the moment as Kirk Cousins was able to march down the field last Thursday night. Rico still has a chubby problem to navigate on a week-by-week basis. His rushing prop is set in the high 50s, so I think he's still a viable flex option, very low-end RB2. But I don't think the upside is there in this matchup with Chuba Hubbard still expected to get his typical 30, 40 rushing yards. Question from...
No.
Nah.
The answer is no. The question is from Big Dog Uff.
Big Dog Uff.
Should I start Rico Dowdle over Mike Evans in my flex in standard format? I don't think so. No. I think just because first off, you don't love the matchup against a very good run defense of Tampa Bay, and then Evans got almost a 40% target share.
How about say he got
a 37% target share last week.
Evans was playing like half the snaps, hadn't played football in 2 months, and almost went for 150. Evans is the guy there, certainly. Not an imposing matchup with the Carolina secondary either. All right, speaking of Mike Evans, let's get
Although I do feel like Baker always plays crappy against Carolina. He always plays down to them. I don't know. I don't have any stats in front of me.
Kind of been playing down to everyone.
I mean, it's been tough.
He getting back right this
But I'm still
week,
starting Mike Evans
think so.
over Rico Dowdle.
I think the Bucs kill.
Let's go.
Restore order. All right, let's jump to love-hate pass catches as we take a look at Matthew's ranks 1 through 10. We got number 1 and number 3 going head-to-head tonight on Thursday Night Football. Puka Nacua against Jackson Smith in Jigba with Amon-Ra St. Brown in between them. And Amon-Ra's teammate, Jameson Williams, cracks the top 10, which would have felt like a comedy sketch 6 weeks ago, Matthew, but now Jameson Williams, all of a sudden a legit wide receiver 1.
You see it there on your screen. 3 straight games with at least a 20% target. Sorry, at least a 26% target share. He's had at least 7 catches in all of them. Like, Packers, Cowboys, Rams, 7 catches in all of them. Almost 100 yards, over 100 yards in 2 of them, 96 in the one they didn't get there. And then you think about this matchup against Pittsburgh, who allows the 7th highest completion rate of passes, 15 or more air yards. They give up a lot of deep passes. And so Jameson Williams, who's getting a lot of looks recently, again, 7 receptions in 3 straight. Since week 9, he's the 6th best wide receiver in fantasy football on a points per game basis. At least 16 fantasy points in 6 to 7 games. And also, by the way, I'm playing against him in the semifinals of my Dynasty League. So he's going to go off. He's going to go off. It's outrageous. I've been the number 1 seed in this league all year long. So I just feel like this is what it's coming. Like the guy's gonna go off.
One of the great fatalists of our time, Matthew Berry. Matthew's very much the type, the fatler, where if you're like a 45% chance to win, you'll be like, well, I got an outside shot. Like I don't think it's gonna happen, but there's a chance. There's always a chance.
My opponent in this league is favored.
Okay, all right.
51%, but
51
to 49. But still, I'm just telling you.
The good thing about Jameson Williams, we've talked about this a bit. 1, total in this game is 52.5, which you love, and then secondly, he's been producing Lawrence, but not needing like the 70-yard touchdown bombs to do it. He's doing just sustained chunk play, chunk play, chunk play.
When Amon-Ra St. Brown left that game a couple of weeks ago, it was like, oh, this is our top 10 pick right here. This is him. Like, we're getting him the ball short, intermediate, and long. So now we know he can do that. Now we know he's not just some guy who runs the receivers off for Amon-Ra St. Brown. So that's good for him, and I think it can happen versus this Steelers D.
Indeed. All right, question. J-Mo or JJ this week? Going to assume that's Justin Jefferson. It's a question from Ved, though, as we have discussed. There are many JJs in football. McCarthy, Jawan Johnson, Josh Jacobs, apparently.
Jawhar Jordan?
Yeah, Jawhar Jordan. But Jerome James, also, former New York Knicks center, who got like a 35 million after balling out for the
Josh Jacobs.
There's a 49ers running back, Jordan James, as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
From Oregon.
The answer, I think, is Jameson Williams. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, you just like the
He's my wide receiver 10 this week.
Yeah, more stability at quarter. And you can't even say that, Justin Jefferson higher ceiling necessarily. Like, Jameson Williams has a massive high ceiling as well. Another guy with a pretty high ceiling.
In that game, 52.5 over-under.
Yeah.
I think you want as much a part of that game as possible. Are you surprised that a game in which Pittsburgh is in it has that high at over-under?
Not necessarily. Pittsburgh offense, like they just put up 28 against Miami. Like it's an unconventional offense. It's not very pretty, but they do move the ball. Like it hasn't been a mess. And also, I don't think the Steelers' defense is particularly imposing, particularly if TJ Watt can't go. And the Lions' defense, they just don't have any bodies left on the back end.
They've been having explosive plays these recent games too. Kenneth Gainwell gets one every game.
Yep.
Metcalf starting to come on just a little bit. So yeah.
Yep. No, I think that'll be high scoring. Another game, which may be high scoring, on Sunday Night Football here on NBC, Patriots-Ravens. Total there is 48.5. The Ravens is 3-point favorites. And Zay Flowers is on the love list for me. I understand that season-long stats for the Pats D are fine. I think that's largely a product of their schedule. We saw when Josh Allen put the cape on last week, the Bills did whatever they want against the Patriots defense. I think Lamar Jackson, he looks a little bit more like Lamar Jackson. He doesn't look like MVP Lamar, but the past 2 weeks I think have been very encouraging, Lawrence, where started with the Steelers game a little bit and then against the Bengals, just his running the ball more and just having a bit more success through the air. Flowers or DJ Moore if Adunze is out? Question from Brandon Roberts.
Definitely
I feel better about Zay Flowers.
Definitely.
A good course.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy one, actually. Yeah. All the underlying stuff on Lamar too, past couple of weeks, PFF grade, he just looks a bit more like himself. This is like season on the line stuff for Baltimore as well.
This is I think they playoffs started last week.
Yeah.
Versus the
1,000%.
Bengals.
Lamar's looking better. Plus, by the way, I feel like the Patriots struggle against the slot.
Yep.
Christian Gonzalez is good on the outside, but Zay should do well here.
Okay, well, we mentioned that Pittsburgh-Detroit game, Matthew. Let's go back to it. DK Metcalf on the love list with a favorable matchup against the Detroit secondary that is missing Brian Branch. Kirby Joseph had a setback, and they're Terry and Arnold. They just don't have many bodies on the back end. Yeah,
that's the point, Jay. It's just all about this matchup here. Lions have given up at least 25 fantasy points to an opposing wide receiver in 4 straight games. They've allowed the most yards per game to wide receivers this season. And in fact, only the Cowboys have allowed more touchdowns to opposing wide receivers than the Lions. So DK Metcalf, who is clearly the first read for Aaron Rodgers, makes the love list. He's my wide receiver 15 this week. Look at that. Dontavian Wicks had a game against them. I mean, you know what, we expect Puka, but Wan'Dale Robinson put up 156, 9 for 156 and a touchdown against them. DK Metcalf, my wide receiver 15, I might be too low on him.
Yeah, Ryan Flournoy also went berserk. And George Pickens had a DPI in the end zone that was cancelled out by another call. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a big game for DK Metcalf. It's probably going to have to be for them to keep up with Detroit. We mentioned Justin Jefferson before, Lawrence. Obviously, brutal stretch for JJ, but very favorable matchup against the Giants.
Hey, man, I'm sticking with him.
Yeah.
This is the time.
Right.
This is it. Even though
we've been saying for 4 weeks, this is the week.
One day we'll be right.
Eternal.
One day we'll be right. You know what had to happen? We had to get a team from New York.
Do you always hit on 16, or are you a stay on 16?
I'm not a big blackjack. I'm more of a lose money on comeback player of the year type of operator.
Yeah.
But what you need is consistency there with the decision making, right? And so if you're going to start Justin Jefferson last week, you're start him again this week.
So we were in Vegas. I was just in Vegas last weekend. My wife and I and 2 other couples, and so we all sat down at a blackjack table. My wife does not play blackjack. She's not a blackjack player, so we're trying to explain to her.
Sure.
And I'm just like, and she's just like, oh, I got a feeling. I'm like, Beth, look, you either always hit on 16 or you never hit on 16.
Sure.
Is my belief. Again, when the dealer's showing a card that's 7 or higher, right? And blah blah blah. But that's the thing. And this is my advice to the kids out there. Yes,
at the blackjack table.
I just, listen, if you're going to gamble, let's gamble right.
Yeah. The 23-year-old kids.
Is Jefferson 16?
It is. It's one of those things. It's like the book. It's about even money either way.
Sure.
You just have to sort of just be consistent, and you're not going to be able to guess. Is my point.
Right.
That's my rule, and I'm going to always hit on 16.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
of course. You don't want to die wondering.
No, but
you can choose aggression or passivity. Go aggression.
Yes, I need to know. Yeah. But yes, either that's my advice to the kids. If you learn anything from today's show, you have to decide either you always hit on 16 or you never hit on 16.
Okay, so why is Justin Jefferson going to hit on 16?
My advice to the kids that play fantasy football: Jay is that guy who steals the dealer's bus card.
Thank you, Ryan.
There's no question. Jay's absolutely third base and just and F's the table, 100%. I will never play blackjack with Jay. That's for sure.
Indeed. All right, Justin Jefferson.
I don't know if Justin Jefferson played blackjack, but he playing the Giants. And they've allowed the 5th most fantasy points per game to receivers this season. Hopefully that means something good for him and not Jordan Addison. You know what had to happen? J.J. McCarthy had to start playing better first.
Yeah.
Now that he's done that 2 games in a row, he's ready because Justin Jefferson hasn't had a game over 65 receiving yards since week 8. Look, I know that's crazy. That's some crazy shit right there.
Max
not Justin Jefferson, but look, Kevin O'Connell said he will not go under 1,000 receiving yards on my watch, and despite this underwhelming season from Justin Jefferson, he's less than 170 yards away from 1,000. The last time a receiver did not score a receiving touchdown against these Giants was week 6. So I'll be damned, man. J.J. McCarthy, you threw 3 touchdowns a couple weeks ago. You threw 2 last week. He going to hook up Justin Jefferson this week versus these Giants. He's on my love list.
You know what? I agree with it. By the way, Justin Jefferson, yes, the numbers weren't there, but he got 8 targets last week.
He's getting targets each week.
And there was one, and it drove me crazy because I had Justin Jefferson getting 50 yards as part of my parlay. But there was one play where Justin Jefferson is basically crossing the field. He's wide open. All J.J. McCarthy does is have to hit him, and he's like, it's going to be like a 40-yard play, and there's a chance at a touchdown.
Still working on some things. But he has a 28% target share.
Yeah.
in 7 of the 8 games that they played together, McCarthy and Justin Jefferson.
Okay, well, speaking of favorable matchups, perhaps none more favorable, Matthew, than your Washington Commanders and that defense. And Dallas Goedert goes up against it. The Eagles can clinch the NFC East and tight ends feast against Washington.
They really do. They've given up at least 10 fantasy points to an opposing tight end in 7 of their past 8 games. In fact, only 2 teams have allowed more touchdowns to opposing tight ends than my Washington Commanders. And so Dallas Goedert, who's been getting a ton of looks lately, 30% target share over the last 2 weeks. He's my tight end 5 this week. I think Goedert has a big game. I think the Eagles win. I think they clinch the NFC East. Great. And I think the Commanders move further down in the draft order, which I like.
Which is what you want.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
It's our year.
Tough win last week. Didn't want that.
I did not want that.
Tough win.
They did not understand the assignment.
Yeah. Well, the good news is you still got 2 games against Philadelphia, and you get the Cowboys in between. And Brian Schottenheimer, understandably, said Dak Prescott's going to play the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So you probably go 0-3, and you'll be, high draft pick. And the show goes on.
Picking 5 or something.
Yeah, that's all right.
Perfect.
You can get a player who plays defense, which would be
hopefully many of them.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some others receiving votes, headlined by Mike Evans, who we talked about a little bit before. Mike Evans, about as good as a return as you could possibly have wanted last week against Atlanta.
Panthers have allowed at least 18 fantasy points to a wide receiver in 4 of the past 5 games, and you're right. 37.5% target share in that first game back, Jay. How about Jayden Reed? Again, Christian Watson looks like he might play. We'll see, but it's worth noting the Bears have allowed the most touchdowns to the slot and the 5th most yards to opposing slot receivers. Jayden Reed back healthy and obviously plays the slot. He's my wide receiver 33. How about Jalen Coker? Cokeheads unite. The Buccaneers allow the 4th most receptions per game to the slot. He's now had back-to-back games with a 20% target share and at least 60 receiving yards. Colby Parkinson, by the way, he may show up a little bit later in best bets, but like Colby Parkinson this week, he's scored quietly in 5 of the past 6. 3 straight games with at least a 15% target share. He was my desperation play last Sunday on Fantasy Football pregame. He ends up with a 2-touchdown game, just a monster game. And now you get the Seattle Seahawks. Only the Bengals allow more receptions and yards to opposing tight ends than the Seattle Seahawks. No Devontae Adams tonight. I think Parkinson's a big part of the game tonight. And then finally, Darren Waller, you had me at Cincinnati. They've allowed 15 touchdowns to tight ends this season, Cincinnati has. That's 5 more than any other team. And so I don't care if it's Quinn Ewers or Tua Tagovailoa or Zach Wilson or Mike McDaniel. If you've got a tight end starting against the Bengals, you start him. Darren Waller is my tight end 12 this week. He's a tight end 1 for me.
Mike McDaniel might actually suit up at quarterback if this don't work out.
I don't think he can see over the center, unfortunately. Dennis Ojeda, full PPR, need a flex. Darren Waller, Gainwell, or Troy Franklin. I think it's Gainwell.
Yeah, it is Gainwell.
Oh, yeah.
Kenneth Gainwell, fantasy superstar.
It's unbelievable. But that's one of my better calls of the year, by the way. I mean, we talked about it all in the preseason about it was more about stop with the Caleb Johnson stuff. They really like Kenneth Gainwell. Kenneth Gainwell is going to play more than you think he is, and so
it's funny. The only thing I can remember Caleb Johnson doing this year is not understanding the kickoff rule and costing them the game against Seattle. He just hasn't been out there. Not a great year for Caleb Johnson.
Kenneth Gainwell, who I got for free, by the way. League of Asses.
Is he going to start for you?
Oh, yeah. He's been starting for me.
Like 6 superstar running backs.
He might start in his second quarterback position.
Kenneth Gainwell is a Hall of Famer.
Do you have Gibbs, Taylor, and Cook?
Yes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. See, this is the problem.
That's what it is. Lawrence went in a 2 QB league. Lawrence went 0 QB.
I think James Cook was like my 6th round pick.
Yeah, that was a good pick. That one, Damn it. Sean Cartwright, Parkinson, or Waller? Now that you as a starting, Parkinson.
Yeah. I really like him tonight.
We'll get to him in segment 3. But he's going to be the second pass-catching option after Puka Nacua, it looks like.
In a good matchup, yeah.
All right, hate list. Stefon Diggs goes head-to-head with the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. It just hasn't happened for Diggs. It looked like he was really going to ignite after, I believe, his last appearance on Sunday Night Football against the Bills earlier in the year. But he just has these anonymous games, and he's just become like a 3 for 26 type of guy.
3 straight games with under 6 fantasy points. He's just not even out there. He's got a 56% route participation over the last 3 games. Since week 6, he has 2 games. Literally only 2 games with more than 50 receiving yards. He's had 3 or fewer catches in 5 of the last 7. Yeah, I just don't know how you can risk starting Stefon Diggs this week in a matchup against the Baltimore Ravens. It's been a tough day tough kind of stretch here for Stefon Diggs.
Yeah.
Like, he's got the ability to always explode for one, but just,
Is that flashes?
He needs a
it's flashes.
touchdown.
This is the
He doesn't score them is the problem.
This is the Sunday night game. Be a great game. It's on the NBC and Peacock. Of course, I'm a company man. So Patriots at the Ravens. Ravens trying to stay alive in the playoffs. Patriots obviously trying to wrap up that #1 seed. But I'm super bummed. I just want to take a moment here, if you don't mind. Because we're going to stay here in Stanford for all of us on Football Night in America. But you know what? This game was flexed in.
Yeah.
This game was flexed in.
I thought about what you about to say.
You know what?
You
know what the game was supposed to be? It was supposed to be Bengals at Miami. You understand?
South Beach Madden.
I could have. That's right. It's freezing as hell here in Connecticut. Me and my Football Night in America family, we could have been in Miami this week.
Yeah.
Sunbathing. I could have been tearing it up at Live.
Yeah.
Lawrence, I could have been,
Hey, you would have been in there like Matty Big Bucks.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Making it rain on them.
Exactly, man. I could have been in South Beach.
Yeah.
But,
you and Drake celebrating Quinn Ewers' maiden victory.
But unfortunately, the team that plays there
is no good.
Nor is the other team.
Nor is the other team.
Just bench their backup quarterback. They bench their starting quarterback. So I'm a bitter berry.
Yeah.
I had a chance at being in Miami. And I don't know why it is, but every time we travel, and listen, I love being on Football Night in America. It's such a thrill, such an honor. And it's always cool. It never gets old when I go there and I'm like, holy crap, I'm on the sideline of NFL Stadium, and about ready to do a game. But it's always cold weather stadium, for the love of God.
Hey.
Why can't we ever go to L.A.? Why can't we ever go to San Diego?
We would have got to probably do the show there, too.
Right.
We've been to LA.
I once. When I first got here, I got
First
spoiled.
game.
The very first game.
Rams-Bills.
We had Rams-Bills at SoFi.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's been like, we're going to Kansas City again.
Yeah.
Freeze our butt off.
Yeah.
Philadelphia. We've been in Philadelphia like 4 times. Pittsburgh.
The link.
All the good teams play in cold weather.
Raise the flags. Barry, Bengals defense versus your Dolphins, or Waller, or Bucks D versus your Cokeheads, which I believe is the Carolina Panthers.
Boy, that's a tough one here.
I'd roll dice on
the Bengals.
Yeah, go up against.
Gotta go against
Ewers?
that. Gotta go versus
they're
that
both
rookie.
not super inspiring options.
Yeah, I think I'd go with the Bucks defense personally. Here's why. We've got no idea on Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
We've got no idea.
Well,
That's why.
I think we got no idea he's not going to be great. but they might run the ball all game.
Well, that's the point, right? It's just like they've still got Waddle and Waller. They've still got Waddle and Waller and Achane, and don't forget, who's the guy? Who's the guy that started the playoff? The third string quarterback.
Skylar Thompson.
Skylar Thompson.
Well, they couldn't get the plays in ever.
I almost forgot about it. I can't believe he started a
He almost
playoff
beat the
game.
Bills.
He did.
But that's my point. Skylar Thompson was competent in that game. They couldn't get the plays in, but
He for a 7th-round pick, he was like, all right.
For a 7th-round pick that had 1 week to start, no, they were much better. And Ewers are going to be fine. I think that the Panthers will not offer a lot of opportunities for turnovers because they're going to play conservative. They're going to run the ball. It can just,
All right, you're talking me to. Well, speaking of Quinn Ewers, speaking of Miami, speaking of Liv, we heard from Mike McDaniel on the decision to make the quarterback change.
I need convicted quarterback play. This team needs convicted quarterback play. I thought Quinn gave us the best chance to do that, and that's why I did it. I've been trying to coach and trying to improve, and when things aren't to the standard, I have to change it.
Okay, well, Dolphins fans, you drink for free.
Hey, at least y'all got Club Live out there.
Yeah, exactly. You got nice weather.
You got
nice weather.
50 plus million guaranteed to Tua Tagovailoa next year as well.
It's tough situation that's going on in Miami. So Dolphin fans, we feel bad for you. But on the plus side, many of you live in Miami where all the beautiful people live.
Yes.
There are a lot of attractive people in Miami on both sides of the ball.
Yes. Yeah, and one of those beautiful people, Lawrence, is Jalen Waddle. He's on the hate list for you.
Yeah, he hasn't been beautiful for him on the field. Wide receiver 40 or worst in 3 of his last 4 games. And the one time he wasn't, it was because he caught a touchdown against the Jets. He only went 5 for 50 yards that game. So wide receiver 11 against the Jets, that don't do nothing for me. Now, you're going against the Bengals and you think, Bengals, weak defense. Yes, weak against the run. Weak against tight ends. Versus receivers, though, only one receiver has over 50 receiving yards versus this weak Bengals defense in their last 5 games, and that was Zay Flowers, who was on Jay's love list, and he only has 68. So if Darren Waller, we like him this week. We don't feel great about the receivers with a rookie quarterback. So for all of those reasons, Waddle got to be on my hate list for this week.
I get it. I get it. Yeah, DJ Turner's had a great year.
Yep. Okay.
And
this
they'll
last one.
put him some in the slot, but still, it's
This last one, it hurts me, but on the hate list, my illegitimate godson, Alec Pierce against the Niners on Monday Night Football. It's not your fault, Alec.
Shame on
It's
you.
not your fault. Just like Robin Williams said to Matt Damon once upon a time, it is not your fault, Alec. But your quarterback can't throw the ball downfield. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Shane Steichen knows more about the Colts quarterback situation than I do and is making the best decision for the team, but I don't understand how they've wound up with Phillip Rivers as the quarterback because that guy couldn't undo anything against Seattle. He can't throw the ball
hopefully
downfield.
It's second week back, not playing Seattle.
Maybe it's this fountain of youth stuff.
From the neck up. From the neck up.
You don't want to be starting Alec Pierce. All right, we're going to hit our first break. When we come back, it's love, hate quarterbacks.
To keep believing in the process?
No, that's all you got. You know what I mean? That's the only thing you can rely on, and you know, and find ways to tweak that and try to get better at it.
Have you been in places where they stop believing in the process?
Yeah, I have. Won't name the team, but yeah, you would be able to tell really fast based on the product that's being put out there, and you know, and you'll just see guys do uncharacteristic things, which I don't think I've seen any of those signs or remotely close to those signs now. So, but yeah, I definitely know what it looks like.
Okay, that was Arizona Cardinals quarterback Jacoby Brissett on believing in the process. Keep trusting the process, Jacoby. Worked out well for the Sixers. He comes in at quarterback 4 for you, Matthew, which is kind of stunning, really. He's in between Drake May, who's second favorite for MVP, and Joe Burrow, who's one of the 4 best quarterbacks in football. But pretty favorable matchup against the Falcons.
Unbelievable matchup against the Falcons. 4 of the past 5 quarterbacks to face Atlanta have scored at least 19 fantasy points. And you think about Jacoby Brissett, right? 6 straight games with 40 or more pass attempts. The Cardinals lead the NFL in pass rate under Brissett, right? And so all 9 of his starts, he's had at least 18 fantasy points. Since taking over as a starter, he's the 4th best quarterback in fantasy. He's QB4 for me this week against your Falcons. Yeah. Jacoby Brissett,
he
unbelievable.
Yeah, he throw the ball enough to do it.
It's so absurd. He is the great innings eater of our times in terms of what he's been able to do since week 6. He is QB4. Only Josh Allen, Jackson Dart, and the immortal Trevor Lawrence are in front of him. He's ahead of the 2 guys who are favourites for MVP, Drake May and Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
And just
this
ahead
is all
of
since week 6.
Yep. And also ahead of Joe Flacco, his spiritual predecessor.
Don't just look over Joe Flacco
since
now.
Week 6, the fantasy leaders: Josh Allen, Jackson Dart, Trevor Lawrence, Jacoby Brissett.
Yep.
Drake May at 5, Matthew Stafford at 6. I mean, you talk
Joe
about like
Flacco
not
at
even
7.
close.
Yeah, pretty absurd.
To what we thought at the beginning of the year.
Well, a guy who's not in that top 10 since week 6, Jalen Hurts. A bit of a disappointing stretch. He's had moments, Jalen Hurts, this season, but before that game against the Raiders where he got right, he was going through it. But I think that he will continue this bounce back with a matchup that is about as good as it gets against the Commanders. The Commanders allowed 6 most points in fantasy, 2 quarterbacks this season. And again, just wouldn't expect your secondary to have much respite, Matthew, against Jalen Hurts.
No, I don't think we will. I mean, we're playing a little bit better, but that's such a low bar.
Yeah.
Yes, Hurts is back. He'll be fine.
Yep. All right. Another guy who should be fine is Jared Goff, who quietly is having another really good season in Detroit, putting up numbers. It's the defense that's the problem at the moment. But that defense is putting him in scripts where he needs to throw, and this total against Pittsburgh is 52.5.
Since week 9, Jared Goff, to your point about playing better recently, since week 9, Jared Goff is the 8th best quarterback in fantasy football on a points per game basis. He's averaging over 290 passing yards a game. And then you mentioned the over-under, right? 52. Well, the implied team total for the Lions, 29.5. Right? So you're looking at like 4 touchdowns, basically. Maybe a field goal if they get there close. All right, so by the way, during this entire stretch since week 9, Matthew Stafford is the only guy, as you see it there on your screen, Matthew Stafford, the only quarterback with more touchdown passes since Jared Goff. Again, the game's in Detroit, indoors against the Steelers, 52.5 over-under. I think you want as much a part of this game as you can get. Jared Goff is my QB7 for the week.
Okay, love it. Lawrence, Justin Herbert on the love list here. Even though the broken hand has given him some issues, he's still been able to run the ball. And this is a pretty favorable matchup against the Dallas team that can't stop anyone.
Definitely. It's been tough for him recently. Quarterback 27 last week against the Chiefs. They still got the wins. Been no better than quarterback 17 since week 9. However, young man, you playing these Dallas Cowboys this week, and they've allowed the most fantasy points per game to these quarterbacks, right? Dallas has allowed 3 touchdowns to quarterbacks in 3 of their last 4 games. The one that didn't was Jared Goff, and that's because Jahmyr Gibbs had an explosive day. Look no further than J.J. McCarthy last week. Had his best game of his young career against these Dallas Cowboys. He was quarterback 7 against the Cowboys. And you mentioned the rushing for Justin Herbert. He's having a career year running the ball. 3 out of his last 5 games, he's ran for at least 55 yards. So when you add that to what you could do in the passing game versus Dallas Cowboys defense, I see him having a big game here.
Yep. I think the key thing is just the rushing elevates the floor a little bit. And he's like stiff-arming dudes with his left hand.
Oh, for sure.
He just doesn't care. All right, others receiving votes, headlined by C.J. Stroud, who's had a strange year, but has shown flashes lately, Matthew, and now gets a very favorable matchup against the Raiders.
Since week 11, Las Vegas has allowed the highest passer rating to opposing quarterbacks in the NFL. They're also giving up touchdown passes at the 2nd highest rate in the league during that stretch. Also, that dynasty league that I'm talking about, I'm playing against Stroud, so you know he's going off. How about Tyler Shuck? against the Jets, right? 17 fantasy points in 4 of the past 5 starts. He's been a top 12 quarterback in that stretch. And he's averaging over 31 rushing yards a game in those last 4. And finally, Bryce Young, the Bryceler. Like, it's all about Tampa Bay. The last 6 quarterbacks to face Tampa Bay, right? The last 6 have all scored at least 18 fantasy points since week 8. Tampa Bay is the worst pass defense in the NFL.
Okay, let's jump to the hate list. Headlined by the MVP favorite, the man whose jersey you spilt diet soda on recently, Matthew. And that is your namesake, Matthew Stafford, who goes up against the Seahawks defense on the road after a flight delay. Davante Adams listed doubtful, unlikely to play. Very tough matchup here for Stafford.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and by the way, Stafford, who's brilliant this year, his worst game of the year was against his third worst year of the game, I should say, was in Week 11 against Seattle. He had just 13 fantasy points. Seattle allows just 6 yards per pass attempt this season. That's lowest in the NFL. And then again, as you mentioned, Davante Adams, we don't expect him to play. 36% of Stafford's touchdown passes this season have come from Davante Adams. So just again, you see what he did last week against Seattle. It's a short week. You don't love it. Ideally, you have better options than Stafford.
Yeah, well, if Stafford does play poorly, Lawrence, that might open the door for Drake May to get more into the MVP conversation, but he also has a difficult matchup against Baltimore.
And I say it's slightly tougher for Matthew Stafford, but just be weary with Drake May going into this weekend. Definitely not saying bench him, but just know that Baltimore's allowed 3 touchdown passes in their last 3 games. I'm talking about the Baltimore defense right here. They've allowed the 7th fewest rushing yards to quarterbacks. We know Drake May likes to run. And interesting thing, man, Drake May had 21.5 fantasy points last week, but 15 of them was in the first quarter. So all I'm saying is Baltimore defense has been better. Just watch out.
Yep. Hey, listen to me. Trevor Lawrence, who's been on an absolute heater lately. A lot of that, though, has come against some of the worst teams in the NFL. Teams like the Jets, the Titans, the Cardinals defense, the Raiders. So I think that might be a bit of a rude awakening coming up against Denver's defense on the road. Denver give up the 5th fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks. We're going to hit our last break. When we come back, it is last call, our best bets for Rams Seahawks. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app. Use the promo code FFHH when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook.
Oh, the crown is yours.
Crown is yours.
Crown is yours.
All right, let's take a look at some notable props for Thursday Night Football. It's a good one. Rams at Seahawks. Oh, plus money appearing in this graphic for the first time in quite a while. Matthew Stafford passing touchdowns, 2+ at plus 101, which speaks to the difficulty of the matchup. Puka Nacua, 100+ receiving yards also in there at plus 118. My best bet for this game, I'm going to take Jackson Smith in jig for over 6.5 receptions. When he played the Rams a bit over a month ago, he had 9 receptions on 12 targets. I think a lot of JSN's season-long stats are suppressed by just the fact that the Seahawks haven't needed to throw in a lot of these games. This game is a pick. Seahawks inching towards minus 1.5 point favourites, so I think they'll need to throw a little bit more than usual. And JSN, this is a season-defining game. He'll get at least 7 catches. What do you like, Lawrence?
I'm going to go Puka Nacua that had 3 receptions in the first quarter because, listen, man, Puka, with your new social media career, buddy, you better play good or they going to be on you. I'm going 3 receptions here. He's actually done this in 3 out of his last 4 games. And then there's no Devontae Adams, so I'm taking that.
Okay, I'm also looking at the Rams passing attack, especially with no Devontae Adams. How about Colby Parkinson over 39.5 receiving yards? Talked about this earlier in the show, but the Seahawks' second most yards allowed to opposing tight ends. Parkinson's had at least a 15% target share in 3 straight games. Had his highest route participation last week. Again, no Devontae Adams. Feels like he's taking over that tight end room. They like Parkinson. He had the 2 touchdowns as well. So, give me Colby Parkinson over 39.5 receiving yards. He had 75 last week.
Okay, let's take a look, Matthew, at some of your top players for this matchup. Matthew Stafford, QB 17. It's been a long time since he was that far down the board, but that speaks again to the matchup. Sam Darnold as well, the brutal matchup last time he played the Rams. He, of course, had those 4 interceptions.
Yeah, I don't think Kyron Williams had a running back 20, so he's a low-end RB2, but I don't think you want any part of Corum, Ken Walker, or Zach Charbonnet. Parkinson, as we've talked about, he's my tight end 10. But you're starting Puka, you're starting JSN, both of them top 3 wide receivers for me. But that's about it in this game. I think you're starting Puka and JSN, Parkinson at tight end. You're starting Kyron Williams at running back, and that's about it that I feel like.
Yeah, real-life blockbuster. Fantasy-wise, perhaps not a fiesta.
You kind of like the defenses there. All right, that music means it's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Good luck tonight. For Lawrence and Jay, I'm Matthew. Go read my 10 Facts column on rotoworld.com right now. Peace out.